Story 1. Honestly, the way my body just decided that sleeping in the wrong position is now a sports injury that lasts for 3 days.
I pulled a muscle while warming up to do my stretching.
This is why I started weightlifting. I pulled a muscle in my back while sleeping. I was literally unconscious. So I figured I needed to toughen up my muscles so they wouldn't be as easily prone to injury while doing nothing. Not sure if it helped, but I haven't pulled a muscle while sleeping since.
I'm in my early 60s, and a week ago, I woke up with the worst neck and head pain. I had my morning coffee and went to get dressed, but the pain was so bad, I had to lie down again. My young adult daughter was so concerned, she asked if I wanted her to drive me to the hospital. She said later she worried I was having a stroke. It took about an hour and 2 paracetamol for the intense pain to let up enough for me to get up, but I was sore for the rest of the day. That evening, my partner told me I'd had a terrible sleep the night before, thrashing around all night. We realized that the debilitating symptoms that looked like a medical emergency had actually occurred just because I'd slept funny. So yeah, your 60s will be a blast.
Story 2. If I don't get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, it's incredibly hard to get through the day and find motivation. Sleep is a lot more important.
This part of existence sucks. When I'm stressed, I wake up every day to panic attacks and gagging from anxiety. Like why? Can't I just manage the stress normally without my hormones going nuts? Who designed me?
Not only that night, but drinking fucks with my sleep for 3 to 4 nights now. Why? I just wake up around 3 a.m. and stay wide awake. But if I don't drink for 2 weeks, I sleep like a fucking baby. I hate it here in my mid-40s.
Oh, you were designed to run from tigers, not have to deal with your office manager. Your body can't tell the difference, though.
Story 3. My friend told me, once you turn 40, your body goes to shit. After I turned 40, I thought I had appendicitis. No, it was a rare form of appendix cancer. It was pretty scary, but I've been cancer-free for 4 years now.
Man, I was diagnosed with colon cancer at 25. It gets worse?
I once had a doctor swear up and down that my stomach pain was either appendicitis or gallstones, even after showing him the scar from the open appendectomy cholecystectomy I had at age 5.
I had lower right quadrant pain too, but I'd already had my appendix out. It turned out to be a blood clot. Blood clots suck. Blood clots in your pelvis suck even more.
Story 4. I hated having periods that lasted 5 days. Now I'm perimenopausal and the duration has reduced just as I hoped for, but the premenstrual syndrome is killing me mentally. I just want it to feel like it did a decade ago.
Seriously, perimenopause is fucking up my life right now. Mine came with chronic migraines. PMS is hell. I literally called 911 yesterday because I started feeling so terrible. I had chest pain, which is a normal thing I now get with PMS and ovulation, and then my heart rate jumped to 150 and I felt like I was going to pass out. I guess it was just a panic attack.
Periods before perimenopause were a rock-solid 7 days of very heavy bleeding. Now I'm 43 and in perimenopause, and on local hormone replacement therapy for my vagina that feels like SpongeBob under the heat lamp, but I'm on day 29 of continuous flow. So apparently that can happen too, according to my gynecologist.
Sometimes when I'm at the end of my cycle and I think, everything will be fine again soon, sometimes it just doesn't rebound like it used to, if that makes sense. I'm waiting for the upswing, and the happiness and mellowness don't return. If I had to venture a guess, it's probably because I'm not ovulating every single month. There's a hell of a huge difference when my ovaries cooperate. Happy mood, libido, energy, the whole 9 yards. I'm in the beginning stages of hormone therapy. Just started a week ago on testosterone gel, and things have been better. Next might be a progesterone cream alongside the testosterone to help with the insomnia.
Story 5. You realize how quickly life can go to shit because you've observed friends, family members, and acquaintances for a good amount of time and seen bad things happen to all kinds of people.
A few weeks ago, I rode my motorcycle to pick up groceries on a road I know very well and almost went over the railing because I didn't pay attention for a split second. If I were 5 miles per hour faster, this could have fucked me up real good.
Story 6. 30s is still fairly young. When I hit my 40s, I was surprised how easy it is to injure joints and ligaments and how long they take to heal.
I think this is it for me. I never understood why old people were so grumpy until it hurt to walk, run, play golf, sometimes even sleep. I tweaked my wrist just pushing myself up in bed, and it hurt on and off for weeks. Dealing with aches and pains takes up a lot of mental energy. I wasn't prepared for how much of my life I wouldn't feel 100% healthy. And I lift weights and exercise every single day. But no matter how preventative you are, it does feel as though your body sort of starts falling apart on you. Unless you're one of those lucky folks who isn't impacted.
Yeah, I lift 4 or 5 times a week, ride dirt bikes, and so on. I've had tennis elbow on and off for like 5 years. It seems to rotate between arms too, never fully 100%. I would probably have to stop lifting and riding for 6 months for it to fully go away, but fuck, I might as well die at that point.
Yeah, same here. I'm 33 and I've been working out consistently for 2 years now. I've been through a lot of little weird injuries just from working out. My left shoulder issue has been my lingering one. One day, my foot slipped on a leg press and I couldn't walk for a week because of my lower back. Luckily, it healed and wasn't anything more serious. While doing seated calf raises, my midfoot had a bad strain pop up several days later, which took a month to feel normal again. I told my buddy I didn't want to play pickup basketball because I didn't want to sprain an ankle or something stupid and ruin my workout progress. But he convinced me to play one day. 20 minutes in, I went to block a shot and damaged the ligaments on 2 fingers on my right hand. Ended up with mallet finger and should have had surgery to correct it. Thought it was just jammed. Couldn't hold a heavy dumbbell for weeks. Couldn't do shrugs, rack pulls, or deadlifts. Shit zooks, man.
Story 7. My own older generation either all died or rejected me. Then I began getting to know my partner's older generation, his mother's friend group. I felt great about having older people in my life again, and now they're all beginning to die too. I can only imagine being in one's 70s and 80s when it's your own actual friends dropping like flies. That's even worse, and I still have that to look forward to.
I understand why old people strike up conversations with strangers in public places because of that fact. And I entertain them and chat with them more now because I know when I'm their age, I probably like that too. Also, knowing this kind of makes you sweat the small stuff a lot less. We really don't have all that much time here. So enjoy the time you have with them now.
I plan on being the first of my friend group to pass. Been friends with those assholes for 25 years and can't imagine life without them.
Yeah, both of my parents are dead. I'm 34 and it's fine. You become the adultiest adult in your own life. And it's a pretty powerful feeling. Not that my parents were particularly reliable anyway, but I definitely felt more helpless before compared to now. I think I've also learned that everyone is generally a moron. So we're all just doing our best to be adults anyway. There's no one who's going to save me.
Story 8. I have to really focus on taking care of myself physically and exercise a lot. I'm in the best shape of my life and feel great. But if I take a few days off, I do not. Keeping in touch with friends is harder. And dating? Whoa boy.
And don't forget about the mental cost of not getting that exercise in. I'm used to working out, playing a sport, or some kind of cardio pretty much every single day. I had rotator cuff surgery last week, and I'm already crawling up the walls. I'm sleeping well enough now that I'm going to start riding the stationary bike, but damn, it's going to take some effort to not go a little crazy. It will be worth it in the long run.
For sure, it's less about gains and more about maintains these days. I need to be way more intentional about rest days too.
Yeah, I get punished way more for eating crap food. Gotta stay hydrated, gotta stay away from junk.
Story 9. How caffeine no longer feels optional, maybe on a weekend, but for driving or working. No can do. It's a requirement I budget for.
Weirdly, it's the other way around for me. I think the coffee I drink nowadays is much better and probably much stronger. I used to be able to sip coffee all day. I spent my early 20s working evenings in a cafe, and then many nights we'd go hang out at a 24-hour diner until the wee hours. Around my late 30s, I'd have a couple of small cups in the morning, and that was it. Maybe I'd get a small treat like a latte in the early afternoon once in a while. Now, approaching my mid-40s, I can't even drink 2 cups first thing in the morning, just one around 8 to 10 ounces or so. I also stopped drinking it black, and now I put a little half and half in it. Black coffee makes me feel awful. I think too much coffee too early or on an empty stomach just makes me feel sick. So I have one in the morning at home when I get up, and then another later at work, often after lunch. If I go to my dad's after work, I'll sometimes make myself a cup with his Keurig if I feel like I'm dragging. And it doesn't bother me. Probably much weaker than when I'm drinking otherwise. But it's all very weird for me, as I was always the one who could eat anything without it upsetting my system. I can't have too much caffeine, can't have too much sugar, can't eat too much junk without regretting it anymore.
Oh man, I felt like that a few years back. My life changed completely by just quitting caffeine. It took about a week to really get balanced, but I was feeling better by day 3. You'll sleep better. You won't crash after lunch. Yeah, your energy is lower in the morning, but that's normal, and you stay at a much more steady state of energy throughout the day. It's been over 2 years, and now an occasional tea or a cup of coffee on vacation with friends is all I really have. Also, be sure you aren't masking bad sleep with caffeine. You might need to see a sleep specialist.
You just reminded me of one of my old coworkers, June. You both had weirdly aesthetic jobs. Working evenings in a cafe is such a mood. And yeah, black coffee is more of an energy potion to me, similar to alcohol. Don't drink on an empty stomach. It's too harsh. Can't have too much dairy either. Add weirdly discovering sudden lactose intolerance to the bullshit from 30 plus.
Story 10. Having real worry-free downtime where you can just do whatever you want almost completely stops existing. There's always something in my life that needs to be done. Life becomes a series of choices. Do I do what I want or what I need? What I need almost always wins. And you rarely get to do what you want anymore. It's just depressing as fuck.
God, this one hit me. I'm choosing the wrong one, by the way, and it has amounted to me catching up in life because I made the wrong choices and just didn't give a fuck.
Why though? If there are no kids in the picture, then what would eat up all this time?
The hardest thing in life is to simplify it. Friendly reminder that it's tax season.
Story 11. The days in a row of poor sleep affect me quicker than before. I used to deal with chronic insomnia, and it would take weeks before I felt it catch up. Now, if I sleep less than a certain amount for even 2 nights in a row, I can't function whatsoever.
I literally left my car today without turning off the engine because of those 2 nights.
Story 12. Lack of friends. Everyone is married or has kids. Most friends have moved to other states. Having a girlfriend helps a little, but then going out requires paying for 2 every single time, and that's not exactly fun either. And there's really nothing on the horizon that will introduce a ton of new people into my life. Don't have siblings, so that isn't an option. Not sure if it's normal to feel so isolated with age, but I hate it.
It's not a requirement to always pay for her.
Story 13. How quickly poor choices and neglect of your personal health when you're younger can spin out of control. I was admitted to the hospital 3 times last year, the year before I turned 40. I definitely don't want to go back anytime soon, except for the preventative care I've been putting off for the past 20 plus years.
Not the original poster, but I will chime in. Go easy on the alcohol. It's a shitty way to die. Better yet, just never touch the shit. It is nothing positive for you.
Too many things to name. Basically, I found you can eat like shit, drink alcohol in excess, and feel mostly fine for a while, but don't let that lull you into a false sense of security. I would always tell myself, I'm fine. I'll get on top of it later. But later kept getting kicked down the road until I started developing problems that had me rush to the emergency room to fix. Don't do that.
Luckily, I drink at most 1 beer every 2 weeks, but I read recently that even that can do some harm. Maybe I should stop altogether.
Story 14. There's no more whimsy, mystery, or infatuation. It's just the daily repeating of stuff. Rinse, lather, repeat. Story 15. 2 big things. My dad died suddenly when I was 39, literally on my 39th birthday. That was horrendous. I get sudden back pain from doing physical things. Sometimes it's worse than other times. I can't carry the heavy groceries or help move furniture anymore. It sucks.
My loved one texted me he had COVID on my 33rd birthday in 2021. He was gone a month later. I feel for you. It's been a rough road all this time trying to do the normal things you're trying to achieve in your own life. Every personal loss feels harder, and every win feels partially empty without them. You try to take the good as much as you can, but it's a hard journey still. You're not alone. And this past year, my back went out from twisting wrong in my sleep. Sometimes it feels like the world is saying EFF you, and you just have to fight. You'll find your way.
Story 16. Every single activity that isn't me doing whatever I want at home feels like a complete waste of time. I do not get what people get out of social events other than massive energy drains. I'm becoming a grumpy old man, and you know what? I kind of like it. Story 17. I'm 33, male, 6'2", athletic and strong, blue eyes, trust fund, etc. I joke, but definitely as genetically and societally privileged as it is possible to be. I suddenly discovered a few months ago that I have a grade 4 brain tumor that will likely end my existence within a year or 3. What a bugger. I love this mortal coil and am rather disappointed to be shuffling off it, leaving siblings, mother, and most importantly my wife and 2 beautiful daughters. Lesson being, if you have unusual headaches or any strange head behavior, seizures being the obvious one, but mine were actually rather strange and lovely. Ecstatic seizures they are called, just with a depressing cause. Get an MRI scan of your head as soon as possible. I always sort of assumed I would live to be 100 if I didn't fall off a mountain or get shot or run over by a bus. Turns out cancer is indifferent to wishes and what should have been.
I'm sorry that this is what you're going through. It must be incredibly hard for you and your family. I hope you're getting all the support you need.
Shit. Just shit. From one stranger to another, be well. Live your last days triumphantly and take many pictures.
Story 18. My body is always sore since my mid-30s. I forget what it's like to not be sore. Story 19. Losing weight in my 20s and 30s was a piece of cake. In my 40s, not so much. Don't get fat. Story 20. I need varifocal glasses because the laptop is too far away without glasses and too close with them. Story 21. Eating the right food. When you're younger, you can push through eating like garbage. Now you pay a tax when you eat badly, in the form of feeling like you're literally weighed down. I've recently changed some diet choices, and man, at mid-30s, you really feel it.
I wonder how much this has to do with your level of fitness and weight, and whether you're still getting enough nutrients. I eat like shit in quality, but not in amount. But I'm 143 pounds at 5'11", and because I exercise regularly, I'm still a healthy weight. Any nutrients that food doesn't provide enough of, I get through multivitamins. I still feel great at the age of 39.
Story 22. Losing that big family comfort, especially around the holidays. Key family members start passing away. It's a very melancholy feeling, realizing how miserable most people are in their marriages. This just happened to me at a recent girls' party. I don't think any one of the girls I was with actually likes their husbands, and it just made me feel bad for them. How fast time goes. You just sort of stop caring about doing a million things. Maybe I'm depressed. I don't know. But we finally have the money to travel and live a comfortable life, and I just don't have the drive or care. I enjoy quiet comfort more than what I enjoyed in my 20s. How fucking expensive a very average house, car, or life is.
The marriage comment is crazy and true. I can't think of anyone I know who doesn't seem like they hate their spouse when they're not around. Maybe they're just venting, but so many seem just on the verge of divorce.
The older I get, the happier and that I've never gotten married. Over my more than 40 years, I've met only 2 legitimately happy couples who'd been married more than 20 years and raised kids and so on. In one of those, the wife passed away from cancer 2 years ago, and everyone fell apart shortly after. I know it's probably a pessimistic view, but I feel like the odds of avoiding catastrophic heartache are better by staying unwed.
Story 23. That I would suffer the loss of my only pregnancy and my baby brother in the same year, which just happened to be 2020. But I was even more surprised over who disappeared when grief appeared in my life, and equally surprised at who showed up for me. Grief will violently, but somehow also a bit silently, shake off any rose-colored glasses you've curated. It will interrupt any self-illusions you needed to keep going. and it will strip you of the desire to be around people who you know won't get it. It will strip you painfully back to some primal survival self. And you don't get to find out for years what parts of you survived grief and what parts are just gone for good. All while people close to you make comments about the old you and how much they miss that me. And I'm just like, that girl you're looking for died along with my daughter. And 11 months later, I lost my baby brother, almost 20 years younger than me. He was an actual expert-level hiker, but he misjudged that he was standing on shale and took one little step too far at the edge of a cliff. He fell 190 feet, passing away immediately on impact. He was 23. We were planning our first holiday season without Mom physically with us, as she had moved to another state with her fiancé a few months earlier. I was so excited to be hosting with his help, especially because our mama loved the holiday season. My brother and I grew up loving that time of year, and I was so happy to create our own new traditions and keep the love of the winter holidays going. My abusive ex, who I was still with at the time, had a unique ability to make any and all special occasions miserable by silently stomping around the house, throwing oddly rude looks at mostly at his own family members if they were there, but of course mostly me, and mostly simply because I was there. And I had finally gotten the nerve to tell him he was not going to get a pass on making the holidays shitty. And I did that out of a place of protection for my brother. My God, that child was here for just 23 years, 7 months, and 23 days. And then one small step too far, and he's gone from me for the rest of this life. Perhaps all of that to say, TLDR, I wish someone would have told me how hardcore and forcefully life-changing grief actually is. But then again, while it's a horrible club we will likely all be shoved into membership at some point, for this reason and many more, I will say some of the most compassionate, kind, gentle, and are strong as needed and dedicated people who have been in this club for a long time can and do hold an extremely safe place to get oriented. And those folks truly do give you heads-ups about the complexities of grief. Given the lack of real-life support so many grievers have access to, finding the right grief support group, while it can and most likely will take some trial and error and time, to find the space where you feel safe to be all of you, while acknowledging that you're forming into the new you. The one we all wish we could use when illusion has been stripped away, because grief is the emotional equivalent of the movie Hellraiser, the original of course. So I had to make this TLDR linger because if just one grieving person reads this and searches for support, it's worth all the words. And with grief in particular, I have so many words for it. I could write a book on it, and I actually am.
You are not alone. I lost my infant son unexpectedly. That was 13 years ago, and I grieve daily. You will end up living a life that you never planned for. But there is joy and hope and beautiful things in it.
I want you to know that I understand the grief of losing a pet is life-changing. Only you don't get support, and most people, the ones that haven't lost a pet usually, will look at you like you just sprouted antlers while you're desperately trying to find some peace or comfort, to find anyone that seems to understand. When my cat Venus passed, I literally Googled the phrase, "Why does losing my cat hurt worse than when my Nana died?" And it was that search that led me to find out how common this type of grief is, how overlooked and minimized it is because, just a pet. I had my Venus from when I was 19 to 37, so yeah, the grief is so real. She slept next to my head. I would often wake up to her tail over my neck or, one time, in my actual mouth. In winter, she would gently use her claw on my face to wake me up if she got too cold and wanted me to open the covers so she could sleep against my chest under the covers. So soft and warm and comforting. The answers psychologically are typically because our relationships with our pets can and often are the only relationship we may have ever had that was truly unconditional love, never complex. I'm referring to our relationship with our pet, not grieving them. Grieving them can be very complicated. And they're always there with us and for us. We live with them, so the time spent together can't really be compared to too many other relationships. Also, for those of us who grew up in unsafe or scary situations, the pets we had even as kids became so many of our first safe places. My father was sick and abusive, sick in the head, not the body. When he would begin a scream fest at my mom, I would silently, like a little sneaky spy, find our 2 cats in the house and take them to my bedroom and force them to stay with me until it wasn't so scary outside my bedroom. Pet loss absolutely deserves to be included in any and every broad discussion of grief. I called into work the next day, and my boss, who is also my friend, instead of saying, "I'm so sorry" or "please rest well," even though I cried all night and hadn't slept and told her that too, she texted me back and said, "I'm sure I'll be sad when Ben dies, her dog, but I don't think I'd decide not to work over it." And I put in my 2 weeks notice by text that same day. Pet loss and grief is loss and grief. I will say I am happy to report I found support groups online that truly made me feel safe, helped me understand why this loss felt so incredibly life-eclipsing. Just like grief. Our precious fur babies give us their all, and the love we share with them is like nothing else.
I'm so sorry for your loss. It is nothing less than shocking how grief can affect us and what it can do to us. My brother's loss also changed everything. There is literally zero part of my life that is the same as it was in what I call my before. Here in my after, I am still recovering 6 years later, and I'm still stopped in my tracks by the sheer pain of losing him. Not daily anymore, but I can confidently say weekly, the shock of it all still completely disorients me. I'm still figuring out how to carry him forward with me when he isn't here physically. The shock and pain of losing my baby brother will be with me until I am with him. This much I do know. Grief changes shape along the way. At this point, I find myself smiling over the happy memories, which to me is no small miracle. Everything is suddenly redefined through the lens of grief. I am thankful there are good resources for surviving grief, but that's what this life now feels like to me. Surviving grief.
Story 24. Sorry, man. No more going out drinking with your buddies, or your next 4 days are going to be sluggish. Story 25. Not having a single romantic relationship in my life. I'm 40 this year. Well, that surprised me the most. Story 26. How hard it is to make friends in your 30s and 40s. Also, how far apart you grow from family. No one tells you how lonely it gets. Everyone gets too busy having their own families, and friendships are just never the same again. Story 27. Parents dying. Realizing that all your bad habits of eating poorly and not exercising are catching up to you.
Do it now before it gets harder and harder. You have a serious advantage starting at this age.
Story 28. Working in tech. I am trying to outrun the automation tsunami, and I need to run faster every year. Learning new things, embracing AI, making new relationships. It's exhausting, and I'm only a tiny bit ahead of the next layoff wave. Not sure how long I can do this for.
I gave up on that shit, moved back in with my disabled parents, and went back to my real aspiration of being an artist. Way happier. Definitely missed the money, but more satisfied on so many levels. Just wish the economy wasn't completely tanked so I could make some kind of money instead of walls, desks, and hard drives full of art.
Story 29. Loneliness. When you lose both parents, Dad when you were 33, Mom 2 weeks ago, and you're currently 37, you get saddled with $20,000 in debt from Mom's dying, and your entire family turns into just thoughts and prayers when you truly need help. Going from that belief of having a supportive family and community to realizing they're actually just relatives was almost as hard as watching your mother die.
Sorry for your loss. It will get better one day.
Story 30. Shifting from excess spending and travel to trying to save up for retirement, because I realized I saved up jack shit by the time I hit 40. And realizing I've got 25 years left of hard work. And having the occasional midlife crisis that makes me want to run away and be a nomad, or get back together with my ex. Anyway, this kind of mindset. Story 31. I now wake up, for no reason, between 1 and 3 a.m. So I start my day. I can't slow down. I now have 2 jobs, run a small farm, plus other stuff. I'm constantly exhausted and can't sleep. It's weird, but I love being busy. In my youth, I could sleep 20 hours straight on my day off. I worked the least amount of hours possible. Very lazy.
I also used to wake up at 3 a.m., and my doctor put me on a low dose of Doxepin, and it solved the issue.
Story 32. At 35, I'm in the best shape of my life. I've always kind of had back pain, so nothing feels very different. I'd say it's mostly harder to recover from a big night out or something, but as long as you take care of yourself, it'll be okay. I think seeing my face change and age has been the most difficult. But that's life. Story 33. I was surprised that the ringing in my ears never went away after a night at two very loud concerts 10 years ago.
Every time someone's talking to me on my right side, all I can hear is my dad echoing, "You should have worn earplugs," in my head. Because there's definitely no actual real-life noise getting through on that side. Playing in death metal bands, going to concerts, and a good handful of unprotected days at the firing range got me. I'm 34 now, and it's become an actual hindrance in the last 6 months.
Story 34. How quickly you can go from healthy to disabled. In 2020, I would work 8 hours in the office, commute home, and then bike 5 to 6 miles and still have energy to socialize. Everything changed in 2021 when I started getting sick. I couldn't keep food down and so on. I was diagnosed with gastroparesis a few months later. And since I hadn't known what was going on, I also had a severe case of ulcers and gastritis so bad that my stomach lining was so thin it bled whenever they bumped it on a scope. It took months to get to where I could eat more than liquids, and then it was a whole new type of diet with soft foods. I've had a bunch of health issues alongside it, with malnutrition since my stomach doesn't have the right chemistry anymore, aspiration pneumonia from vomiting so forcefully, and so on. I've ended up homebound for most of the last 2 years. I am finally starting to do a little better again, working at taking walks and getting outside more often, but it's a slow process. I've still got my bike, but I don't know if I'll ever ride it again. I am only 41, and my parents in their 60s are more active than I am. Story 35. People being fine with mass surveillance. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, that idea was almost antithetical to being American. Then 9/11 happened and we gave it all up. Even with Snowden, people didn't really care enough to demand any sort of change. Now it's absolutely out of control, and we're completely under that control. Story 36. There's a moment when everyone is getting married, then a moment when everyone's parents or grandparents are dying. The old people in your life change a bit when they realize they're the last ones standing. Story 37. Becoming estranged from my dad and my brother at the same time as my mum started deteriorating with dementia. In hindsight, the signs were all there regarding my dad and my brother, and I shouldn't have been so shocked by their behavior. Hindsight is 2020, and wishful thinking is exactly that, etc. The worst few years of my life. Story 38. The broken sleep cycle that comes along with being a woman in your 40s. It is nearly impossible for me to sleep through the night. Story 39. Taking care of your parents and ultimately losing parents. When I hit my 30s, suddenly all the adults in my life became invalid, broke, or needed saving in some way. I could help someone here or there, but soon I became the only responsible, fiscally sound adult in our family, the one who had to handle every crisis. It was truly too much, and I had a breakdown. Story 40. The passing of a loved one, like the real first actual loss, fucked me up badly. Story 41. That, after a knee injury, I can't play my favorite sport, soccer, ever again. I've tried, and it didn't go well. Also, after 40, exercise just doesn't work as well as it used to, and it takes a lot longer to get results with a much slower metabolism. The bright side of my late 30s and 40s so far is my children, who make me better every day. And once I turned 40, I just didn't care at all about what others think. I feel much more confident than in my 20s and early 30s.
Dude, the freaking injuries. I didn't expect it so soon. I thought that happened when you reach 70 or more. My warning has run out.
I feel this. I ruptured my patellar tendon, so I can't play basketball anymore. Boxing is affecting my hands. I only have weightlifting left.
Story 42. All those things you ignore health-wise because you're youthful or because you're American with no good health care. Yeah, those catch up with you. Get off your phone on the toilet. Get your shit done and get up, for real. Story 43. Your mental ability to give it your full attention really does wear off after a few hours once you're over 40. You need to do the big brain stuff before 1 p.m., otherwise it's monkey brain left to handle it. So schedule those important meetings and so on in the morning. Story 44. So many people started dying. Not just old people, but people my age out of the blue. One friend fell down the stairs and had an undiagnosed brain hemorrhage. Another got pneumonia and wound up dying of a heart attack. My friend's 15-year-old daughter in a car wreck, and so on. Dad died. Mom is dying, aunts and uncles dying. It's crazy. I figured it wouldn't start happening until I was in my 60s. Story 45. I never feel 100%. I'm dizzy or tired, or I slept wrong and my neck hurts. I sit too long and my back hurts. I never feel 100% anymore. Story 46. Living a healthy lifestyle and being young doesn't make you immune to cancer or other diseases. Everyone was so shocked when I was diagnosed. None more than me. It's honestly terrifying that your body can just freak out and stop working properly at any time. Enjoy your health, people. I'm fine now, but always waiting for the next thing. I was diagnosed at 35 and never thought it could happen to me. Story 47. The cost of a successful life. I came from a family that wanted their kids to be high achievers. I worked hard through school, got amazing grades, landed jobs in big companies. Now I'm burned out from achieving all these successful things, and not for the first time. My mental health is in the gutter. I've got plenty of health issues. My family is proud of my career and life choices, but it's unsustainable. I just want to quit everything. I'm a show pony for people who don't care work and family. Man, I'm so done. Story 48. Not really commenting on the question. Just waiting for the old Reddit switcheroo in a few hours, when someone comes up with the unoriginal idea to flip bad to good in a new post. Story 49. That you don't magically level up once you're mature. Still struggling, but held to a higher standard because I'm older. I work a decent job. I don't go out a lot, but I'm still behind as a single person in my 30s. Story 50. Realizing how old my parents are getting. They're still both in good health, but I've never thought of them as old people, and now they sort of are. Story 51. That you have to pay way more attention to what you put into your body than you think you do. Story 52. I've mentioned this a few times in the past week in different threads, but I quit drinking. Turns out the majority of my social circle was based around going out to drink. Another thing that didn't really change my life in a bad way, but kind of recontextualized my past and a lot of actions and decisions. I was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder around 40, and I think like a lot of people, it led down a path of researching and looking back at your past. It kind of brings to light a lot of why you are where you are now and how past behaviors that you may not have been fully aware of influence who you became and where you are at in life. Story 53. One parent has died, and my surviving parent is rather needy, not very independent and lonely. It's draining. Story 54. How expensive having kids would be. I will never regret becoming a parent, but I'm a relatively high earner in a low cost of living area, and I still have to budget very carefully. My country just doesn't support parents or kids. Story 55. Metabolism, no matter how hard you chase it, you're never going to eat the same way you did as a teen and a 20-year-old ever again. Also, recovery time for everything. Multiply it by 2. Worked out? Tomorrow is going to suck. Drank a little too much? Yeah, your magic hangover cure isn't so magic anymore. Long story short, go slower, be reasonable, and don't give up on yourself. Story 56. That people truly are selfish and not just tired and busy. People don't value relationships and community because in the West, we're programmed to be individualized, competitive, and separate. So it isn't just that my friends are busy, they just don't care about prioritizing friendships anymore, like they did when we were young. Story 57. How easy it is to put on weight. Gone are the days of smashing a bag of cookies. Story 58. The loss of a rich social life and friends from childhood to adulthood. People make different decisions and go their own ways with relationships, family, careers, and geographic locations. People also die. It sucks. I feel like I've lost connections to entire communities that I figured would always be there. Story 59. You're basically just sleeping away what little free time you have to yourself anyway, whether you work a 9-to-5 job or a 7-to-2 one. This job is more physical, so I end up nodding off at random, whether I'm sitting in a chair or just on the edge of the bed. It just means I'm also struggling to find a consistent sleep pattern and not really finding time to do the things I'm really passionate about or even light entertainment. I think I'm probably in some sort of funk. Story 60. How lonely I would be. I know that sounds dramatic, but in my 20s and early 30s, I was a social queen. And as everyone coupled up and had kids, I became the one left out. Story 61. The female body biologically stops having use, and our bodies know it. Can't make offspring anymore? You no longer need that supple hair, that skin, that lubricated vagina, the feeling in your nipples, etc. Story 62. I don't remember the last time I went over to a friend's house just to hang out. Usually it's a planned event or lunch. I used to just go to my friend's house and we'd be bored for a while, then maybe run an errand, and that was the day. Story 63. I was diagnosed with cancer at 40. Not a lifestyle cancer, either. The surgery disfigured my neck. Everyone says it doesn't look bad, but to me it's awful. I went into relatively early menopause as well. It all just sucked so badly. I feel like I have aged 25 years in the past 8 years. And I look terrible too. Menopause sucks. I don't know how women have mostly been quiet about how much it sucks. I'm Generation X, Zennial, and I'm here to shout from the rooftops so other women aren't surprised by how bad it can fuck you up. Ladies, advocate for yourselves. Get that hormone replacement therapy. Don't let doctors tell you to lose weight or eat differently or exercise. Yes, those things help, especially strength training. But what you really need is to stabilize and replace your hormones. Story 64. Parents dying and everyone your age having families and kids. As someone who's single, child-free, and doesn't want kids, dating or making friends feels like a borderline waste of time. Story 65. My relationship failed, the one that was leading to marriage. 2 months later, my mom died on my living room floor. The month after that, my cat passed away, and the month after that, my aunt. Then COVID hit, and I've been financially unstable due to health problems ever since. But I'm still trucking. Story 66. Wow. My energy level just completely vanished in my 30s. Parties and social outings completely exhaust me now. Story 67. I've completely lost the ability to lift weights on consecutive days without getting injured, no matter how much warm-up and mobility work I do. The mind is willing, but the body is not.
You definitely need to take more rest days as you get older. I used to train 6 days a week. Now I do every other day. Also, remember to do deload weeks every 6 to 8 weeks in your program. It helps big time. You need a plan for small, incremental increases now, not big gains every month. That's what I've had to adjust for myself.
Story 68. The actual war in my country. I thought that we had left such things in the past, but no. The real war is happening right now, right here in a big, civilized European country. And it was quite a shocking revelation to me. Story 69. My nervous system reached its limit. I didn't even know that was a thing. After a string of people shitting on my boundaries, resulting in betrayal trauma, now I have trouble regulating it. I don't put up with anything like that anymore. My message now is, be a raging asshole about boundaries. Fuck everyone else. Story 70. Losing parents, the body doesn't heal as it did. Innocence is gone. You have less to look forward to. The optimism of youth and what's to come is gone. For me now, it's just a slide to the end, making sure it goes smooth and slow. Story 71. The career and money I wanted have left me soulless. I'm relieved to be able to pay the rent, but I have no energy to live. Story 72. The increasing realization that you probably have fewer days ahead of you than you do behind. Story 73. I was always under the impression that having a baby was going to be super easy. Turns out, getting pregnant is actually pretty tricky. But to make things worse, we finally got pregnant and are now going through a miscarriage at 6 weeks. The entire thing is fucked up, and I've been super depressed. Story 74. I had a mental breakdown when COVID hit. My biggest fear was a worldwide pandemic, and it was rough. After that, I was diagnosed with bipolar II, OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and a hell of a lot of chronic health issues. I also got formally diagnosed with level 1 autism because I started having pretty bad meltdowns out of nowhere that we thought were bipolar related. I sought out an autism specialist due to family history and symptoms, and hell, maybe that explains some. It does explain some, and we believe these are autistic meltdowns, specifically scratching my face badly and hitting my head. I don't know why I never had meltdowns before. Maybe it was the mental breakdown, maybe complete burnout from stress and being in retail and masking for a decade. Maybe it was all of the above. But all of that started when I turned 30. That has been the hardest in the worst way. Story 75. How much younger people really don't listen to you or believe that your experience may in fact be helpful. I work with a lot of early 20-somethings. They think they know everything, and so did I at that age. In my late 30s, I now know a lot more, but I feel like I don't know anything. Story 76. Having kids in your 30s truly fucked with me. I'm so tired, and they have so much fucking energy. I don't support having kids young, but I also get it. Kids later in life are not for the weak.
Tell me about it. I had mine at 37 and 39. I keep telling myself it will get better. I will feel better someday. It's not working at all yet.
Story 77. Elder care. I spent 12 years of my life trying to keep my mom out of the icy grip of the Reaper. It's like being a parent, except there's more baggage, and the end result is they die instead of going off to college. Story 78. Finding out that my family not only doesn't have my best interests at heart, but actively collaborates behind my back to extract as much as they can from me before my so-called accidental death. I gave 2 decades of my life trying to help support my mother and sister after my father left them when I graduated. Now I'm dealing with restraining orders and canceling secret credit cards and accounts in my name, including 2 secret life insurance policies. Story 79. I'm a 39-year-old woman and my mother died of cancer a few months ago. My father has been gone for many years already. I knew her death was coming. I was in therapy, I was taking antidepressants, and I believed I had prepared myself as much as one can. But 4 months later, I'm shattered in a way I didn't anticipate. I no longer feel attached to life in the way I used to.
I'm exhausted. I'm disappointed.
Story 80. Waking up in the morning and having to stretch is an absolute must if you plan to continue to be active. Story 81. How short life truly is. The first 18 years take forever and make you feel like you have all the time in the world. Then the screen flashes, 20 years later, and you're fat, balding, and your wife hates you. High school felt longer than from 20 to 40, for example. Story 82. Having the cognitive abilities to look back on my childhood and realize how horribly neglected I actually was. Story 83. I rushed into settling down, getting married, and deciding to have children. In many ways, I've been reduced to a financial and emotional provider, with every minute of the day allocated and delegated to an array of tasks. The daily burden of crippling responsibility has worn me down to a nub. All that's left is a slightly overweight, slightly grayer version of my previous self. The kids are healthy, at least, but ensuring their happiness takes every morsel of energy from my nervous system. I have nothing left to give, especially not to myself. Story 84. The economy, the job market, and the ability to feel optimistic when life keeps ass-fucking you. Story 85. I miss when American presidents had affairs with other consenting adults behind closed doors, rather than committing pedophilia on Epstein Island while half of Americans seem to be A-okay with it. Story 86. Loss of patience and tolerance towards things or people I don't like. Since my energy has gone down, it's very precious. So I don't waste it on people or things anymore. Story 87. Sacrificing sleep and being in survival mode afforded me a good career with stability, and it made me a very resourceful person. But it came with a great cost as it compounded into my autoimmune issues that came later. Now I spend all that resourcefulness caring for myself, and caring for a body that is attacking itself in new awful ways every day. It feels like drinking soup with a fork. Story 88. Losing my spouse before the age of 40, and now trying to figure out who I am while also solo parenting our child. Story 89. Cancer. You expect it to suck, and it does. You don't expect it to bankrupt you so fast. You don't expect that every aspect of your life is now worse and will never get better. It's robbed me of joy. It's broken my family financially. and it will soon take my life and leave ruins for my loved ones. Story 90. Unprocessed childhood trauma will come back and bite you in the ass. I lost a great relationship with my daughter because I didn't get my shit together fast enough. I'm in a much better place now, but the damage is done. Story 91. For me, it's a drop of testosterone. It decreased my ability to handle stress and anxiety. It caused me to be depressed, and I was one of those guys who used to say depression is just an attitude thing. You can choose to be happy or be depressed. Boy, did a drop in body chemistry prove me wrong. Story 92. Honestly, I'm trying to get pregnant as soon as possible because I'm 30. Time is pressing, and my egg count will decrease and their quality will decline over the next few years. Story 93. Be careful what mythology around aging you embrace. In just my late 30s and early 40s, I've become far more physically fit, experienced a sexual awakening, built the courage to leave a stable career and pursue my creative passions, met the love of my life, adopted a transformative meditation practice, became an Ironman triathlete and a marathoner, and turned into a dog dad. I also said goodbye to chronic pain and athletic injuries. Thank you, Dr. John Sarno. Life has thrown some serious hardships my way, including the horrific, untimely deaths of some of my closest loved ones, work and money uncertainty, and a few really bad bike crashes, but I've also become much more equipped to deal with all that than I would have been earlier in life. If you prioritize a lot of daily movement and sleep, stay connected and committed to family and friends, spend time getting to know and love yourself, eat well, and honor your creative power, each decade of your life will be better than the last. Oh, and go to therapy. Story 94. Having a poor night's sleep can be as debilitating as a hangover, and hangovers are increasingly horrendous. Story 95. Injuries from the car wreck, especially my ankle, never healed back to the way they were before. Broken wrist, no more sports. No volleyball or baseball. Story 96. Experiencing the death of people and pets is extremely devastating. Feels like it only gets harder. Story 97. You can wake up and, for no reason, part of your body just hurts really bad. It can take weeks for the pain to go away with no explanation. So annoying. Story 98. The ability to partake in any pharmaceuticals, alcohol, or weed without facing consequences. If I drink enough to get a buzz, I'll be horribly hungover for 48 hours. If I smoke weed, I can't remember a thing for a few days. Pharmaceuticals are a real gamble. Either they make you feel good and then your baseline sucks, or they help you sleep and then you lose sleep without them, etc. Sobriety becomes required and boring, at least for me. Enjoy it while you can, or never partake. Then ignorance is bliss. That's probably the more sensible and sustainable option. I blame DRE. Just describing the drugs made my 10-year-old brain decide I wanted that. All of it. Story 99. Everyone in my life has so much more drama. Everyone I knew when I was younger was really chill, but it's like everyone now is so ready to turn everything into some kind of major drama. Is it me? I thought people were supposed to get more mature, but I just see people getting more petty. Even people in my family. Story 100. I'm having executive dysfunction with my fine motor skills. Exiting vehicles, tying shoes, getting dressed, holding things. I could go on forever. Story 101. I've spent my 30s battling infertility, in vitro fertilization or IVF, and unexplained pregnancy loss. I even lost a baby on a trip with my in-laws in Mexico that all my doctors wanted me to go on. And I had to have emergency surgery in a foreign country. All of this has truly changed me and made me less fun. It also led to career burnout from my dream job. I finally have 2 children, but it was hell getting them. Story 102, 37 here. Hangovers from drinking put me down for like 3 days now. Not a totally bad thing though. I eventually gave up boozing because it just hurt so damn much. Story 103. I lost my husband to cancer as a young widow. It sucks. You never realize how long your grief will consume you. It honestly surprised me. If I had known I would have had such a short time with him, I wouldn't have wasted 1 minute arguing about stupid things. Story 104, mid-40s. Thinning hair as a woman. Not balding, but my ponytail is as big around as a dime. Story 105. I've become unbelievably intolerant and impatient. Also, as a guy, the refractory period just gets longer. Going for round 2 is simply not going to happen anytime soon. Story 106. Seeing the pace slowly picking up of former classmates or other people around the same age as you passing away for various reasons. Story 107. Every year it gets harder to stay in touch with friends as much as I would like. No fights, no falling out. Just everyone is busy, and it's tough to find the time. Story 108. Man, nothing yet. I'll be 41 in a month. Just aced my vision test too. Maybe I'm lucky, but I also think people misremember their youth. Rather, they overestimate how invincible they were. Story 109. Going up the stairs the wrong way messed up my knee for months. I literally just stepped wrong somehow, and now I have to hobble up the stairs or gently get in and out of my car, hoping it doesn't get worse. Story 110. I could not have predicted what the cell phone would become. Prior to everyone having their face in a phone, people really did have more humanity for one another. They started more conversations with strangers. They had to make plans ahead of time and stick to them, or you wouldn't see your friends. Even as the cell phone rose in the early 2000s, I didn't see it taking over in the way that it has. All those just living in the moment memes have a point. There's no going back. I'm staring at my phone right now, but this is the biggest change, not the internet itself. When you had to go sit at a computer to access it, it was just another technology. It didn't change the way the whole social environment operated on a day-to-day basis.
Story 111. J'ai conclu que j'aurais jamais dû croire le dicton « les potes avant les meufs ». Les meufs avant les potes est plus crédible.
Story 112. Most people act out of self-interest. They'll say what sounds right, but they rarely follow through unless there's something in it for them. Story 113. Before 2000, the future was supposed to be a march toward progress, an ecotech, Star Trek-like future. Science, rationality, and freedom leading the way. We would solve the big problems in sustainable ways. We're a quarter of a century in, and things ain't looking too great. Story 114. Negatives. One little thing can fuck me up. No more dairy or I'll feel terrible. I shoveled for 15 minutes and was sore for 4 days. Positives. More confident than ever before. In all things. Very comfortable leaving bullshit behind. Story 115. I'm only 36, but the amount of minor physical issues that have occurred from simple tasks is getting annoying. I also have pretty bad arthritis in my knee, but that's less from age and more from a rather bad skiing accident when I was a kid. Story 116. How easily turning the wrong way can throw out your back for a week. Husband asked me to grab something from a cabinet. Then the next thing I know, I'm crying in a hot bath because the whole left side of my back is on fire. Story 117. More plates to spin, less mental headspace, but unable to stop. Life in my 40s is relentless, and I'm so very tired. A 2.4 children family. Story 118. I spent my 40th birthday, right before midnight, turning from 39 to 40, in an ambulance with an arrhythmia that wouldn't stop. Then, for months later, I had an unrelated major abdominal surgery, part of which was removing my gallbladder. I later learned it had a precancerous tumor in it. And a month and a half after the surgery, I found out I have multiple sclerosis. I feel like ever since the clock struck midnight on my 40th birthday, my body has been trying to kill or maim me. I don't know if it changed me in a bad way, but I do know that I'm very tired. Maybe that's just from being 40? Story 119. I'm 31, almost 32, turning 30. My immune system decided it wanted to rent rooms to viruses. My knees, which used to be able to handle anything, now crave a pillow if I have to look at anything on the floor. My stomach has become fussy. Onions? No way. Spices? How could I even think of it? I'm counting down the years until retirement. It's not fun. Story 120. Feeling unenthusiastic about life after 20 years of work. Work. Like I've lost my soul. Story 121. Breast cancer for me, blood cancer for my husband, and a carotid artery dissection out of nowhere. All highly treatable, life-appending, and expensive. My tween is on Lexapro now, and he still has good days and bad days where he can't get through a school day. Story 122. The midlife crisis is real. I couldn't really articulate this for you until you've gone through it, but you do reach the theoretical halfway point in your life and things look different. There's plenty of good that you can see in it, but I'll admit that once I got here, just the fact that things look so different from how they did 20 years ago is quite arresting. It makes you pay attention, and it can drive a lot of difficult thoughts that you didn't know you were going to have to contend with. I guess the only thing I can compare it to that maybe young people have experienced is the very top of a roller coaster, that moment of weightlessness. There was a lot of anticipation on the ride up, and there is a point, a very specific point, at which that growing anticipation changes. That's kind of what it feels like, and for a lot of people, I think it can spiral out of control. I haven't allowed it to cause me to make bad decisions, but I'm not unsympathetic to the reality that everything is different, and it's having a profound impact on the way I think. That's all I can really say. Story 123. I have enough money to buy whatever I want, short of maybe a house. I don't want to buy anything.